I'll just start by addressing, I suppose, the challenges that we're all facing at the minute. Isn't the obvious challenges are coming that we're all facing from the rising inputs, and that's across the board really, of concentrates, fertiliser, fuel, and so on. We'll focus mostly on concentrates this evening. The fertiliser issue is an increasingly worrying one that still definitely hasn't gone away. You rarely speak to a farmer now and fertiliser isn't brought up. So I suppose it's in the back of people's minds, it's a worrying thing. A lot of farmers are asking themselves, should I be saving silage this year in order to make less next year, which is a very valid point, a very wise thing to do. But I mean, we still have our output to maintain this winter, we still have our business to run, so we can't save it all. The current task in hand is how do we keep our business going this winter. So that's mostly what we'll focus on this evening. Concentrate price, you can see from the table there. This time last year, a standard kind of 16% beef blend was costing around £270 pound a tonne. Been slightly higher for a higher protein one, or for a CAFRE, for example, but generally speaking, a 16% beef blend is in around the 270. This year, a like blend is costing about £360 a tonne, and possibly going up even more this month, from what I gather. So that's a 33% increase from last year in 1 year alone. Granted, beef has gone up, but it hasn't gone up in line, hasn't gone up with the same ratio, really. This time last year, a U3 steer, according to the Dairy Agriculture Market Report, is about 402, sorry. This week, they're 437, so that's a 9% increase. Sheep, unfortunately, for the per sheep guy, as usual, haven't gone up as much. This time last year, lambs were in around the 490 mark. This week, 5 to 510 base price, so just an increase of 2% there in lamb price. As well as the challenges from the rising inputs, silage is slightly concerned on some farms. I've been around analysing some farms with the NAR scanner, as my colleagues as well. First cut just isn't as pleasing as it could be on some farms. Generally speaking, very generally speaking, we're seeing first cuts either one or two things. It's either low in D value or low in dry matter, depending on what stage it was cut at. And there's nothing to be done about that at the time. I mean, as we all know, it rained for 2 weeks solid end of May, so it was a very, very challenging year to harvest good first cut silage, perhaps combined with an exceptional growth in May too, which is a little bit of a perfect storm. I suppose we couldn't get it harvested at the date it needed to be. That being said, we have tested some good first cuts. There's good silage out there, and there should be some very good second and third cut silages. So there is good silage out there. It's just a matter of knowing what we have. And I suppose that the combined challenge then from all of the above really is how do we finish or grow our animals, and how do we maintain our output given the challenges that we're all facing. So like I said, I'm just going to discuss a few winter feed plans. We'll start off with a store calf. So this could be a store calf you're going to sell out of the house in the springtime, or just even graze yourself out of the house in the springtime. So we start off with a few assumptions. Say you're housing them now, start of October. The average weight of your calves is 300 kilos, for example. Say if we take average quality silage, 12% crude protein, we value that at £35 a tonne. Say per quality silage, 10% crude protein, if we put a value in that at £30 a tonne, and if we take a concentrate cost of £360 a tonne. So I suppose the first scenario, say we're not going to feed in the meal, we just go with silage. If you've per quality silage, you'll need at least 25 kilos of that. That's going to cost you 75 pence a day. £135 for the 6 months, but on quality silage alone, you'll not expect any live weight gain over the winter. I should point out these growth rates are generated by Feedbite, which is a nutritional software program we use in CAFRE. So per quality silage alone, you're not going to get any daily live weight gain over the winter there. So effectively, they come out of the house the same weight they went in. What you've done is you've fed them for 6 months, you've fed them every day, you've given them £135 worth of silage, but you've got no daily live weight gain out of that. So say for the average quality silage, 12% crude protein, similar cost really. You get away with 21 kilos there, 74 pence a day, £132 for 6 months. You'll get a little bit of daily live weight gain there, perhaps in around 45 kilos over the 6 month period. But again, you've fed them for 6 months, you've given them £132 worth of silage for very little gain really. And also you'll run the risk of possibly stunting these animals and affecting their lifetime performance. Francis will go on and talk a little bit more about that later on in his presentation. But these calves will thrive like mad going out the grass. Of course they will, because they haven't done much over the winter time, but they'll never make up for the 6 months that they've done in the house with gain nothing or very little. So I mean, you're not going to get the same daily live weight performance. And also in that you run the risk of stunting them through lack of minerals as well. Don't forget, if you cut out the meal, you cut out the minerals, unless of course you supply them separately. So say we're going to give them a little bit of meal, as we usually do. Say start off with the poor quality silage. To start off with, say we're going to go for the 0.6 kilograms daily live weight gain per day over the winter. It's generally seen as your kind of sweet spot, I suppose, anywhere between 0.5 and 0.7 kilograms daily live weight gain to get some compensatory growth and then maximise your overall lifetime performance in the cheapest way. So say we're going to aim for 0.6 kilograms per day over the winter. And poor quality silage, again, when we put that into feed bite, you're going to need 3 kilograms of concentrate along with that. That's going to cost you $153 a day, or £275 for the 6 months. But you've got a calf going out to grass or going into the ring at Enniskillen, whatever the case may be, at 408 kilos at the start of April. So, and he's just done a nice thrive over the winter. He's still ready to get compensatory growth, or still in a nice stage to sell, whatever the case may be. On the average silage, then you'll get away with 2 kilograms concentrate then. That'll cost you $125 a day, or £224 for the 6 months. And again, you've got a calf, hopefully around the 408 kilo, thereabouts, ready to sell or graze in the springtime. And I suppose one thing you'll notice there as well, you've actually saved a little bit of silage. Calves, the same as any animals, can only intake a certain amount of dry matter per day. It's limited by their size or by their weight. So if you introduce meal, as we know, is obviously very high in dry matter, 85% plus. So if you introduce meal into the diet, they can't intake the same amount of silage. They can only eat so much. They'll eat less silage. So you can see you've saved yourself 10 kilos of silage in the poor quality case anyway. So that could be a useful thing going forward. 10 kilos per calf, even in a small batch of calf, you've saved yourself a bale a week there at least. So that could be a useful thing, next spring going forward to carry those bales over, as we said at the start. So I suppose for any store producers in the room anyway, your next question will be, well, what am I better to do? Should I sell these calves now and save my silage and save my meal, or should I winter them and sell them in the spring? Listen, I suppose it's a matter of working out or estimating or doing your homework, trying to work out what are these calves worth now, what's it going to cost me to winter them, and what could they be potentially worth in the springtime. So from that table, we've already worked out what it's going to cost us to feed them over the winter. What are they worth now? You'll have to input your own figures here, but say we had a batch averaging 300 kilos. Say you reckon you're going to get 280 in the weanling ring for them. That'll be bringing them in at 840 of an average. You add your 224 from the bottom, from the average quality silage into that, and that's giving you a break-even price of 1,064 for a 408 kilo calf in the springtime. Is it going to make that? That's the $1 million question. Listen, if they're good cattle, they probably would have this spring, but again, you'll have to input your own figures here. You might say they're too low, you might say they're too high. Ultimately, it depends on the quality of your calves, the breed of your calves, and so on. One point I will make there, actually, if you are doing these calculations yourself at home, just bear in mind it's the average figure you want to work off all the time. You'll hear prices and things as well as I do. So and so got $330 a kilo or $350 a kilo in the weaning ring today. Maybe they very well might have done, but I doubt they would have averaged that price. And if they did, they must have left the bad ones at home. So it's the average figure you want to work off all the time. That's what you need to factor into your equations. It's just very easy to mislead yourself when you're doing these calculations sometimes. And just a few other points to consider. A weanling calf will produce roughly 520 gallons of slurry over the winter time. So for every 10 calves you keep, that's another extra 5,000 gallons of slurry. It should be good slurry as well. We've some members of the business development groups and environmental business development groups actually got the opportunity to analyse their slurry this year. And we're seeing a good difference in tanks that have had calves and they're receiving meal as opposed to dry cows, for example, as you'd expect, obviously. But it highlights the value of that slurry. That was an extremely valuable resource this spring and will be next spring as well, potentially even more valuable next spring, given the price of fertiliser. And again, obviously, the cost of production will depend on your quality of silage. That'll vary between all of you. So average quality silage, we've worked out here 224. Per quality silage, it'll be more than that, but equally high quality silage. And as we said, there is high quality silage out there. We know there is high quality silage. You should be able to winter those calves for less than £200. So it'll depend on your silage quality and your level of concentrate needed to keep up that daily live weight gain. Moving on to the finishing system, these are formulated from a 550 kilo beef finishing steer, aiming to put on 1.2 daily live weight gain a day for a finishing period. You can see from the right hand column there in the table, your margins and your daily feed costs very much come down to the quality of your silage. Based on the level of concentrate then you need to supplement that silage with. You can see it ranges from, your daily feed cost range from 239 to 305 based on the quality of your silage. Granted, okay, I suppose there's nothing we can do about the silage quality now, but there is a little bit, because there is good quality silage on farm. We know there is. We've analysed it ourselves, myself and my colleagues, with our NAR scanners. So it's a matter of getting that good quality silage now in front of these cattle. I know logistically it can be slightly difficult, especially this time of year when there's different classes of stock and the sheds maybe aren't full. There's still some cattle working their way in and so on. But if you have quality silage in your farm, this is where it needs to be. The reason you make good quality silage is to save money. And this is where you can save money. These are the big eaters in your farm. These are the most expensive animals. So get your best silage in front of these. So I suppose one thing there is test your silage as well to work out, or to find out what your best silage is and get it in front of these cattle. And then I suppose once you've done that, then this is just a typical finishing budget. Very important to do a budget and work out your plan for those cattle then over the finishing period. So just following on from the last slide, if we take an average pen averaging 550 kilos, say you bought them at 235 a kilo, that's coming in just under 1,300. 25 kilos of silage and 6.5 kilos of meal. You'll start off obviously in a little bit less meal than that, and you'll finish in a little bit more. But if we take an average of 6.5 kilos at 360 a tonne over the finishing period, add a little bit of vet and med in there, that's bringing your cost to 1,635. If we get our 1.2 daily live weight gain that we're hoping for, if we get a reasonable kill out then and a price of 437, that's bringing you in a price then at 1,669 and leaving you a margin of £34. So I suppose the summary of all of that is that the margins are extremely, extremely tight in the finishing game at the minute, and it doesn't take much for that margin to become a negative. Say if you didn't have good enough silage, for example, and you had to feed more meal, say you didn't get the daily live weight gain of 1.2 or didn't get the kill out, either one of those things on their own really is enough to turn that margin into a negative. Equally, there's much scope to put it into a higher positive as well. You know, if you've good silage, you can save on meal. If you can lower your purchase price or increase your kill out, for example, on better quality cattle, there's room to improve that to a higher margin. But listen, there's no getting away from the fact that margins are razor thin on the finishing end of things at the minute. So it's very important to have a plan in place. Weigh your cattle regularly. This is based on a 100-day finishing period. You're going to need to weigh your cattle at least once a month, preferably even more often coming into the finishing period to make sure they're still doing that 1.2 daily live weight gain. You don't want to feed them for 100 days and find out at the end that they haven't done your growth rate they expected, and it could be through something simple. It could be just they're not getting the intake. It could be a worm burden. So you want to trigger on to things they got relatively early. And again, test your silage. Find out the best quality silage in your farm, and work out then how much meal or a little meal, whatever the case may be, you can get away with for them. Moving on to the sheep end of things, just from speaking to farmers around the country and agents that handle a lot of lambs at the minute, there seems to be two main issues in the sheep end of things this year. It's kill out on lambs and flesh, and the two things are obviously linked. It's most likely stemming from the fact that there's a little bit less concentrates fed on farms this year, but I mean, if you don't have the flesh in your lambs, you're not going to get the kill out. If you take this example on screen here, this is an R3 lamb, 47 kilos over the bridge. If you get a kill out of 43%, which is probably typical for this time of year, kill out will decrease as your season goes on. That's just what happens. Coming off grass, you'd probably be happy enough with a 43% kill out this time of the year. That'll give you a dead weight of 20.2 kilos. At £5 base price, that'll bring them in at £101. Exact same lamb run over the bridge, or exact same weight, 47 kilos, but say that lamb didn't handle, and say the grader decide that lamb was an R1. First of all, that lamb doesn't handle, you'll never get a 40% kill out or anywhere near it. Say you got a 39% kill out, for example, that'll bring him into 18.3 kilos. But more importantly, in R1, you'll be deducted 40 to 50 pence in base price, depending where you kill your lambs. So you can see what that does to your lamb price then. £84, that's £17 down from your R3. So admittedly, when you kill lambs, you maybe don't get that many R1s, but based on this example, we don't want to see any R1s coming back on our kill sheets. So I suppose what I'd say to you is, keep an eye on your kill sheets and your last batch of lambs that went away. If you're starting to see a lot of 2s creep in, and certainly if you're starting to see more 2s and 3s creep in, be very, very careful in your next batch of lambs you send away. We don't want any ones coming up in the grade sheet at all, because you can see, even if you only get a handful of them, it'll absolutely ruin your average price for that batch of lambs. There's several different things, I suppose, that can affect the kill out, but I mean, the only real one we can influence at the minute is the diet. So in other words, going in with a little bit of meal to those lambs. I suppose how much meal and is it cost effective is your next kind of obvious question then. It'll come down to two things really. Meal, firstly, flesh, as we've seen from the previous example. If you're struggling with flesh, it'll absolutely be cost effective to feed meal to avoid those penalties. And your second thing then is grass. So these growth rate figures are taken from the Shaga study. So this isn't a grass only diet. You'd expect a daily live weight gain somewhere around the region of 100 grams per day this time of year. Similar to kill out, that'll decrease as the year goes on, as the season goes on. But start of October, you'd expect somewhere around 100 grams a day. It'll obviously vary in the quality of grass, type of ground, and breed of lambs and so on. But so if we have a 42 kilo lamb, it'll take you 60 days to put on that 6 kilos to get him up to 48 kilo lamb. If we take a lamb grazing cost of 10 pence a day, £6 is going to cost you to put that lamb in just 48 kilos then. So there's no doubt about it. Grass is the cheapest way to finish your lambs if you can do it. But we've seen in the last slide, flesh is a problem, and also grass availability will be an increasing problem coming forward. So let's say we introduce a little bit of meal at grass. Say we introduce half a kilo of meal. That'll increase your daily live weight gain to around £225 a day, or 225 grams per day, sorry. So you can see you've more than halved your days of slaughter. You should get that lamb into 48 kilos then in 27 days. So you've saved yourself a month of grass. And from the last data we've seen, we've improved our killouts as well. It'll cost you about $133 a week to feed that half kilo of meal at £380 a tonne. But you've sped up your daily live weight gain and increased your chances of getting your lambs finished off grass. I suppose the importance of that will hopefully become clear in the next slide. If you don't get your lambs finished away off grass, I suppose the next option a lot of guys turn to is the house. So housing them and finish them intensively. The problem with that at the minute is just simply economics of it. A typical food conversion ratio of intensive feeding lambs is around 8 to 1. It may vary 7 to 1, 9 to 1, but it's generally accepted in around 8 to 1's average. So that means for every 8 kilograms of meal you feed, you'll get a kilogram daily live weight gain. This is an intensive finishing scenario. So that 8 kilograms of meal at £3.80 a tonne, that's going to cost you £3.04 to put on 1 kilogram of live weight. That kilogram of live weight then, if we take a 48% kill out, higher than the previous slide obviously because they're intensively fed lambs. 0.48 of a carcass, at today's £5 base price, that's bringing in at £2.40. So it's cost you £3.04 to put on that 1 kilo live weight, but you've only got £2.40 for it. So it just unfortunately doesn't add up at the minute. Previous years this might have done, but so remember from the first slide, concentrates are up 33%, lamb price is only up 2%. So meal's too dear, lambs aren't dear enough, whatever way you want to look at it. Very quick calculation done. If we assume a feed conversion ratio of 8 to 1 and meal price of £3.80, £6.33 is your base, as your break-even price there for your kilogram daily live weight gain, and we're a long way off that at the minute. That's not saying lambs won't be that price in December, January, February. I don't know what they'll be, but they're a long way off at the minute. So I suppose just to flick back to the previous slide for a second, that highlights the importance of going in now with your half kilo and speeding up that daily live weight gain if you think you're not going to get them finished off grass, because it'll avoid the previous scenario in the last slide of intensively finishing those lambs, because we can see that's just not cost effective at the minute. And just on that point, actually, if you are introducing mealet grass at half a kilo or some level in around that, there's only one real way to do it, in my opinion, that's to go out with trucks. I still see farmers going out with hoppers to feed lambs at grass, but it just simply doesn't work in this scenario. It's fine for ad lib feeding, but if you're aiming to feed half a kilo or in around that, every lamb needs to have access at the same time. So you need to go out with your trucks, enough truck space so that each lamb can get access at the same time. Similar to calves in the creep, for example, each calf needs to get access to the creep at the same time. Otherwise, what will happen if you put the meal in the hopper in this scenario, your big lambs will get a kilo and a half. Your little lambs will get nothing. So, and that's pretty much me, folks. Just to summarise, yes, concentrates are up, but they're still needed in the diet, and they're still cost effective. There's still room for them. I suppose what there's not room for is just being heavy-handed in the bucket, overfeeding and underfeeding, as that'll not be cost effective either in the long run. So it's a matter of getting your silage tested, folks, and then working out how much or a little meal you need. Getting your weigh scales out, your kitchen scales, bathroom scales, whatever the case may be, weighing out your buckets and sticking to that over the winter. Weighing your cattle again over the winter as well, especially in the finishing scenario, to make sure they're on target. And again, just a footnote at the bottom, just maintain your animal health plan, because it'll not be cost effective to cut corners there, and I suppose Eric will touch more on that later.